Hi, my name is Hunter May. I am the owner of May Crochets, which is a crochet business, and I thought it would be super interesting to go over all of my income streams for my crochet business. Backstory about my business. I started this about 3 years ago. I'm in my 3rd year of business and it's been a really interesting ride. My first year was just kind of getting the initial bones of what I wanted to do with my business. So I'm not really going to be talking about the first year. I did have a whole year of business. I started in December the year prior, but I didn't make a lot of money. It was just me trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this business. A lot of it was honestly just pushing out content and trying to gain a following. So I don't really have a lot of income to go over for that. So we're mainly just gonna look at last year and how this year is going, keeping in mind that all the data from this year is only gonna be up till the end of July. So August through December for this year is not gonna be included in any of my stats. I am a very analytical, logical person, and I love watching videos like this from other people. So I decided it would be a really cool thing to add into the world of fiber arts for what I bring in. A little bit more background of who I am. So outside of May Crochets, I am also a software engineer. By no means do I make a full-time amount of money with May Crochets. I've been struggling with the fact of seeing myself being full-time with May Crochets. I would absolutely love to, but right now it's just not in the cards for me. But I am trying to slowly just get more income streams. So I'll talk a little bit about new income streams that I'm trying out, ones that I'm hoping to try out in the future, and then ones that I have going right now. So I'm gonna be looking at my laptop down here, so if I'm just staring down, that is why. But let's just quickly brush over all of my income streams and then I'm gonna break it down from there. So I gathered a list of all of them and I have pattern sales, I have merch, craft fairs that are new this year, affiliates, social media, ads on my website, and then a made-to-measure service that I will talk more about later. Out of all of these income streams, patterns are my biggest stream of income. So I'm gonna be pulling up some graphs because I love graphs, I love pie charts, and I'm a very visual person, so we're gonna see everything here. And basically, this is going to be looking at last year compared to this year, which this year is only up until July. To give a clearer picture, we're going to look at my income stream from this year to last year. So with all those income streams, I have a few new ones. So like I said, my craft fairs are new this year. My ads are generally new this year. I had a little bit of ads on my website last year, but definitely not a lot. This year has drastically changed for me. So I'm gonna show 2 pie charts of what last year looked like and this year looked like. And this is just a breakdown of what my income majority was, not necessarily amounts. So for last year, 84% of my income was just from patterns, which is crazy. And I didn't really push a lot of other income streams. I was going really hard on getting tons of patterns out. And then I also created merch. So that was 14% of everything that I did. And then I had a tiny little bit of ad revenue. So that was 0.7%. And then I did my made-to-measure services, and that was 1.2% of everything I did last year. Let's compare to how this year is going. So like I said, there are new things that I'm adding in. So this year, and this is only up until the end of July, I have 61% going to patterns. So that went down a little bit just because I have more avenues of income this year. 13% have been craft fairs. That has been new for me for this year. 18% has been ads, which I will cover the streams of income a little bit more detailed in why that number went up so much for me. Affiliate is 1.8%. It's not that high. I don't do a lot of affiliate marketing. I get a lot of spam things through my email of marketing for people, but I kind of ignore a lot of them because I try to think about what my followers are gonna enjoy, and a lot of them are just random things that I don't think any of my followers care about. I don't really jump into that as much. I also have a full-time job outside of this business, so I don't have a lot of time to sit down and make tons of ads for companies, so I usually don't. Then social media, have not done that much. I can't even remember what I have from this year. And then my merch, I haven't been pushing it that much, so it's only 1.4%. And then my made to measure service is to 3%, and I'm expecting that to go higher throughout this year. So let me kind of break down each of the income streams. So that's a super high level of how last year and this year went with the overall distribution between all of my income streams. So let's dive a little bit deeper. I talked about patterns being my biggest income stream. So let's start there. So I have a little pie chart because I love pie charts that I'm gonna show of how I've sold my patterns. So within my pattern sales, I have multiple income streams within that. So I sell on many different platforms just to try to get all of my patterns to as many eyes as possible. You don't necessarily have to do this. I would recommend at least being on 3 platforms to sell your digital patterns. The more that's out there published, the better your search results are gonna be because you have more of your pattern out there. Your pattern is gonna be found so much easier. First, we'll go over last year what I sold mainly on. So here's a pie chart from last year. 43% of all my pattern sales come from my website, which I highly recommend starting a website to sell your patterns. You do have to pay extra money. So I use Wix, and Wix does have a free version, but to be able to sell on their platform, you have to pay for the subscription. I think it's worth it personally for me because not only do I get ads, not only do I get to have a specific website for my brand, I can also put ads on my website, which means whenever anyone comes to my website to buy a pattern or even to see my free patterns on my blog, I will get ad money, which helps a lot and we'll go through later in the video. The next biggest place that I get sales on with my patterns is Ravelry. Ravelry has a really good search engine within finding patterns. If you're gonna be making patterns, I would almost say you have to be on Ravelry because there are so many ages that use Ravelry, and they also have really good search engine on Google. They sometimes post on like Pinterest for you. Ravelry is amazing, and I had almost 30% of all my pattern sales from Ravelry. Next biggest is Ribbler. I don't know why Ribbler was so big last year. I will show my chart for this year after this, but it is not that big. But for some reason, Ribbler went really big for me last year. And then I do Love Crafts and Ko-fi or Ko-fi. I honestly don't know how you say it. Love Crafts, I'm always surprised when I get people to buy things on there because I don't really promote it that much, but they have really good searchability, and I always come across my patterns on Pinterest that they posted. So they're doing the advertisement for you. And then Ko-fi, Ko-fi, people told me that they wanted me to put my patterns on there, and it's super easy. I just copy paste my description from Ravelry, put it on Ko-fi, and I get a decent amount of people that buy things, so it's not that much work, so I do it. And then Hobbii, they have Hobbii Plus patterns that if you're a designer, you can input your pattern if you use their yarn, and people will pay you. So I did a little bit last year, got 0.6% of all my pattern sales came from them. So yeah, that was last year. That's a whole year. This year's chart, I added Etsy. I was kind of against Etsy for a little bit, but I decided, you know what, I should try it. So I have 2.5% of my sales this year from Etsy, but that is saying that I've only had Etsy for like 2 months. Very small start. I'm very interested to see what next year is gonna look like. But you can see this year alone, I'm 59% on my website, almost 28% on Ravelry, 7% on Love Crafts, which was basically what the same was last year. Ribbler is drastically dropped, but that's kind of because I haven't been publishing a lot of patterns on it because all my patterns are PDF patterns and can't be input into Ribbler like Ribbler wants you to. And then Hobie, it's about the same. And Ko-Fi is about 1%. I haven't sold much there. And Etsy is 2.5. So I'm really interested to see how that grows. My takeaway for you would be get a website, Ravelry, and Lovecrafts even. Lovecrafts is super easy because once you put on Ravelry, you can just import it directly onto Lovecrafts. So it's literally no extra work, just publishing the pattern and you get some sales. So with those being my biggest income streams within patterns, I bet you're all wondering, but how much money do you actually make? So here is a chart showing last year compared to this year price-wise. It's comparing all of the different places that people can buy my patterns and how much money I got from each. And keep in mind, orange is a full year and yellow is half the year. Last year on my website, I got over $5,000. And this year I'm almost to 3,000, which is over halfway. So I am on track to meet exactly where I was last year. Ravelry last year, I made about 3,500. This year I've made 1,300. So not as much and a little bit less than halfway, but I'm hoping to make it up with website sales. Lovecrafts, I made 800 last year. This year I've only made 330. Ko-Fi, 319 last year. This year's only been 56, so not that much. Etsy, so far this year, since I haven't made anything last year, it's 119. Ribbler last year, I made almost $2,000. This year, I've made not even 100, a little shy of 100. And then Hobie, last year, I made about 70. This year, so far, I've made 32. So that kind of gives you an idea of the breakdowns. I sell so much on my website. And the other benefit that I didn't mention about my website is whenever someone purchases a pattern from me, I get their contact information. I get their email. So then I can add them to my newsletter and I can send them emails. So that's another reason why your website is a really good idea to sell patterns. And then here's just another visual going by months because I love visuals. I love seeing everything. Last year, as you can tell, beginning of the year, I did insanely well. And the first 2 months individually almost made $3,000, which is insane. And I had 2 really popular patterns that I released January and February. And that is the reason why those months did amazing. I tried to replicate it this next year, but I almost didn't even make half of what I made in each month, which is crazy. But you can see some months this year I've done better than I did last year. So it all kind of evens out in the end. Yeah, this is maybe not too much advice to you, but just more interesting to look at, in my opinion. I love seeing stats. And then if you don't like that line graph, you want to see a bar graph, here's another example of the same information just shown in a different way. So how much money I made in each month last year versus this year. And you can see some months I did better last year and then other months I'm doing better this year. Just something interesting to look at. But overall, last year I made a total of $11,600 on patterns. Just patterns alone, which is crazy. I made so much last year and I've been kind of slacking this year, honestly. Up until July, I've almost made 5,000. So I'm not even halfway to what I made last year. I'm hoping this winter is really good, but that just gives you an idea of how much money you can make just by selling patterns. So next, I'm gonna quickly go over craft fairs. I started craft fairs this year just to try something new, have more income revenue coming in, see how it goes. I've never sold physical items, so I thought it would be fun to try. So this year I've made a total of around $1,000 on craft fairs, and I've only done 4 craft fairs so far, which is pretty good to make $1,000 for only 4 craft shows. I will say I dumped a lot of money into making my booth look really good because I think a good booth design and layout will bring people in a lot more. So I did a lot of woodworking and made tons of stands myself, which wood was expensive. So that's the one thing about the craft market as an income stream, is that you have to spend quite a bit of money until you're able to make money with all of the miscellaneous things. There's so many miscellaneous items like signs and displays, and then your actual materials that you're buying. There's a lot more that goes into it. I've made $143 on affiliate marketing. This is pretty new. I didn't really make anything last year. This money is directly just from Amazon affiliate marketing. Next, social media. I didn't make like anything last year just because I wasn't prioritizing it. I'm still not prioritizing it. But the cool thing is I just got monetized on YouTube. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I love you all. And so July was my very first month of making money from YouTube. So last month I made about 40 bucks on YouTube, which is awesome. And then TikTok paid me a huge amount of money, $1.87 in like June. So rising up. So social media, I've only made like 40 bucks this whole year. So, and that was literally just from like July. So, okay, so one of my big ones, ad revenue. So when I first opened up my website, I put Google ads on there. They don't pay you out until you make over $100. I got 100 basically each year. It took me almost a whole year to get to that $100 mark. My very first year of my website, I got 116. Last year I got 101, so it went down. This year, however, with Google Ads, I made $200 in 2 months, which is crazy. Recently, I changed my ad revenue to something called Mediavine. So there's a really big ad revenue website called Mediavine, and to be able to sign up for it, you have to have like 10,000 website views a month to be able to even apply for it, which is really hard to hit, and I have not even hit that. But they just recently introduced a new tier of the ad revenue that they do, and it's called Journey. And I was able to get into it. I can't remember what the requirements are for it. I signed up and got approved at the very end of May. So May, I got $13 from ad revenue. Just the month of June, I got over $700 from this ad revenue, which is crazy. I was getting $100 a year, a whole year, and then I made $700 in a month. And then July was almost $500. So I love this ad revenue. It's awesome. So I've made this year on ad revenue, towards the end of July, I've made almost $1,500 just on ads, and I'm hoping to make so much more throughout the year. That's just another reason that you should start a website, a blog, put free stuff on there, get people looking at your website. If you put your patterns on there and you link people to your website, people are looking at your website, you're gonna get more traffic and be able to put ads on your website, and it's so worth it. All right, so like I talked about last year, I added merch to my business. I was slowly publishing it each month last year, and I was pushing it a lot. This year, I haven't really pushed it very much, but last year I got almost $2,000 from my merch. This year, however, I've only made a little bit over $100. But one of the things I want to talk about in this video and mainly push is that there are so many different ways that you can make money in the fiber arts industry. You don't have to just sell patterns. You don't have to just do craft markets. You don't have to go the content creation route. You can do so many other things, and an example of that is my made to measure service. I have a video talking about what my made to measure patterns are, and you can watch that right here. Essentially what they are PDF patterns that allow you to input your body measurements within the pattern, and there are background calculations that happen that output the rows and stitches exactly in the pattern needed to match the inputs that you input. So this allows you to do any gauge, which means you can do any weight of yarn. You can also do any body measurements. To be able to do the made to measure patterns, I do JavaScript within the PDF. So many designers out there were wanting to have these really cool patterns, but they just don't know JavaScript. So what I started doing was starting my made to measure service, which means that a pattern designer can come to me with the math and the PDF of their pattern, and then I will input and do the JavaScript for them and create a made to measure pattern for them to be able to sell. I started doing that last year. I made $170 last year doing that, and then this year I've made almost $250, and the year's not even over. That has been something that's been super unique that I do that no one else really does, and I think it's just shows you that there's so many different streams of income that you can be super creative about in this industry. So with all of that being said, all of that talking, my voice is getting dry. I made a total of almost $14,000 in profit last year. This year, by the end of July, I've made almost $8,000. The one thing that I'll say about this year that's been a little bit different for me is I've been spending a lot of money. So looking at the net money, which is your profit minus the expenses that I did last year, I had so much net income left over. This year I have barely any. I guess I've been spending so much money. It's been hard to look at how well I did last year and how much money I have this year, but being able to make these graphs and make this video, it's really helped me in seeing that I am making money this year. I'm just spending a lot of it. And when I think about what did I spend so much money on this year, the craft markets, which is an investment. And then the biggest one was the Crochet Business Summit that I went to this year. And it cost quite a bit, but it was so worth it. And I definitely want to do it next year. And I was able to get so much out of it. I have to remember that because my logical brain just looks at the numbers, but I don't think about the benefit and the impact that spending that money had. I just want to say with this business, there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to spend a lot of money. The impact is so worth it. And we sometimes just get stuck in seeing the numbers. Like, oh, I didn't make this much this month, and I spent so much this last month, but it's so worth it in how we're building our business and making connections. We get so much farther by making friends and getting help from people that are just like us. I've gotten so much advice from everyone I met at the Crochet Business Summit, and it's helped my business so much. So that's my words of wisdom to you guys, in that I'm spending a lot of money this year. So another thing I want to talk about is looking ahead to the end of this year, next year, what that's gonna kind of look like for me. So like I said, I'm super excited to see what my ad revenue does for me. I'm excited to see how YouTube's gonna blossom and how much that's gonna bring in. Another thing that is gonna be a sneak peek of something that I'm working on that you guys are gonna get to hear because I've been keeping it a secret for 3 years. It's literally been the reason why I wanted to start my company. So this is really big. Come in, come close. I'm creating apps, fiber arts apps that will help you in anything fiber art. I'm hoping once I get that released that I will get another stream of income, and I wanted to share with you guys, one, because I'm excited and I've been keeping it a secret for so long and I'm ready to share it with people, but I'm not ready yet. I've barely done anything on it. Also just to show that you can have unique income streams that don't necessarily have to follow the path that everyone else does. The options are endless when it comes to this, and you have to find whatever is unique to you and what you can share with the community. I have a hard time comparing myself with other people in this community, and I just have to remember that my skills are different from everyone else in the community, and what can I bring that other people can't bring and actually help and be seen throughout the community. So I really hope that helps, and I hope I wasn't rambling too much. I hope you appreciated this breakdown. If you have any questions for me, please comment them down below. I would love to answer them. If there's also anything about my business that you want to know more about, I would love to share. I am an open book. If you ask a question, I will answer it. I am very honest. There's no reason not to share information with everyone. Come to me and ask literally anything, I will answer. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I would love if you subscribe to watch more videos of mine. I do vlog videos, I do tutorial videos, I do tons of videos, so all about fiber arts, crochet, knitting. I would love if you watched more of them. And good luck if you're thinking about starting a business, or you have a business and you're trying to figure out different ways to make income. You got this. Let me know if you need help, because everyone in this community helps each other, and we're all here for you. And I can't wait to see what you make. Thank you so much for watching.